Now, I have 4 questions for people who are advocates of socialism or communism. Here are the 4. There are many other questions we could ask, but here are my 4 questions. Number 1, why do socialistic and communistic countries often build walls to keep people in? Why do they do that? Why did 𝗥𝗲𝗚𝗏𝗏 have to build the Berlin Wall? It wasn't to keep people out of East Berlin. It was to keep people in East Berlin. Secondly, why does the capitalist USA have to build walls to keep people out? Right? We're building walls to keep people out. I mean, we want immigrants, but we want them to come in here legally. We don't want security risks. We don't want people coming in here without us knowing who they are. We don't want people well, some political advocates want people to come in here and feed off the system, even though they don't pay into it. Yeah, we get that. But common sense says you want to know who's in your country. You want to know if there are drains on the country. Are they contributing? Are they paying taxes? Another question. Why are there no migrant caravans going from the USA to Venezuela? It's always the other way around. Why is that? You don't see people knocking doors down to get into socialist countries. They don't risk their lives to do so. Why not? And why would anybody think that's a good idea that we ought to implement here? Why do you think people want to implement socialism here? They might think it's an easier life. It's about equality, right? By the way, what is Marxism all about? What's kind of the central core of Marxism? But why? What needs to be fixed according to Marx, who lived, by the way, in the 1800s? What needed to be fixed? Inequality, because you had an oppressor class and an oppressed class. You had the employers essentially oppressing the employees. He used other language, but that's the simple way of saying it. And the employees were going to rise up and make everything equal. That was the goal, ultimately. And he thought the best way to do that was to go through socialism on into communism. Inequality. We can't have inequality. Now that might sound good on the surface. We'll get into that a little bit later, maybe next week. But that's really the goal. We can't have inequality. And there's oppressor classes and the oppressed classes. In fact, it's really class warfare. That's what Marx is all about, class warfare. And now there's cultural Marxism, which we'll get into in a future session, where they're trying to say inequality in anything is wrong, not just financially, but in other ways. So we'll get into that later. My 4th question is, why are you unlikely to ever wash a rental car? You don't own it. Why is public housing not as well kept as private housing? There's something wrong with human nature. If we don't own it, if it's not ours, we're not likely to look after it as well as if it were ours.